Live.
And welcome back. I am Old New Dude with my co-host
Richard York, Astro's trueborn son.
As usual, we will start with the brains of the operation. John 4. Richard will put his knowledge down, and I'll just jump in with my stupid stuff every now and then.
Yeah, I see a lot of potential here for some quantum leaping. There may have been some interference. It's not guaranteed, but
not only with humans too, though.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. It sure seems like things are set up so that Sam and John will be friends, and there's a lot of. I don't know why, but let's do this. I didn't think he would act that way, but he did. That sort of thing.
I'm sitting there loving that one part where John's like, "Man, I can't believe he's crying again," and then Ghost goes up there and licks.
Yep.
John's like, "Oh,
right. Let's get to it."
All right, man, go ahead.
John was showing Darian how best to deliver a side stroke when the new recruit entered the practice yard. They told me I was to come here for training, he said to no one in particular. Of Lordling, Pip observed to John. Southron, most like near Highgarden. Pip had traveled the Seven Kingdoms with a mummers troupe and bragged that he could tell what you were and where you'd been born just from the sound of your voice. So we've mentioned this in previous chapters, but this specifically tells us that Corin is somebody else, specifically Highborn, and that Danny probably has a secret backstory with the house with the red door, likely in Tyrosh. So for more on the real story with Danny and Corin, see Triplet Targaryens, episodes 4 and 6.
There you go.
John shook off Pip's hand. Halder, enough! Halder looked to Sir Alistair. The bastard speaks and the peasants tremble, the master-at-arms said in that sharp, cold voice of his. I remind you that I'm the master-at-arms here, Lord Snow. Look at him, Halder, John urged, ignoring Thorn as best he could. There's no honor in beating a fallen foe. He yielded. He knelt beside the fat boy. Halder lowered his sword. He yielded, he echoed. So this story has Halder continuing after his opponent yielded, with John having to stop him by telling him his opponent already yielded, and his opponent's on the ground as well.
Yeah.
This is the exact reverse of what happens in Storm. So in John's 12th chapter, every morning they had trained together since they were big enough to walk, Snow and Stark, spinning and slashing about the wards of Winterfell, shouting and laughing, sometimes crying when there was no one else to see. They were not little boys when they fought, but knights and mighty heroes. I'm Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight, John would call out, and Robb would shout back, well, I'm Florian the Fool. Or Robb would say, I'm the young dragon, and John would reply, I'm Sir Ryan Redwine. That morning he called it first. I'm Lord of Winterfell, he cried, as he had 100 times before. Only this time, Robb had answered, you can't be Lord of Winterfell. You're bastard born. My lady mother says you can't ever be the Lord of Winterfell. I thought I'd forgotten that. John could taste blood in his mouth from the blow he'd taken. In the end, Halder and Horse had to pull him away from Iron Emmett, one man on either arm. The ranger sat on the ground, dazed, his shield half in splinters. The visor of his helm knocked askew, and his sword 6 yards away. John, enough, Halder was shouting. He's down. You disarmed him. Enough. No, not enough. Never enough. John let his sword drop. I'm sorry, he muttered. Emmett, are you hurt? Iron Emmett pulled his battered helm off. Was there some part of yield you could not comprehend, Lord Snow? It was said amiably, though. Emmett was an amiable man, and he loved the Song of Swords. Snow and Stark, but which is which? Note that the young wolf is the young dragon, and John is Lord of Winterfell. He could think here, and he found himself thinking of Samwell Tarly, and oddly, of Tyrion Lannister. He wondered what Tyrion would have made of the fat boy. Most men would rather deny a hard truth than face it, the dwarf had told him, grinning. The world was full of cravens who pretended to be heroes. It took a queer sort of courage to admit to cowardice, as Samwell Tarly had. So I think that could be Bran quantum leaping, the way that he just Tyrion Lannister is sort of oddly like John thinks it's weird that he's thinking of this.
Right.
But it's even more likely in some of these other potential interventions. So,
right, and if it's that likely in the other places, chances are you're right here also. It's friends.
yeah, it sure seems like this whole thing is arranged so that Jon and Sam will be friends.
Yeah.
Jon took as much pleasure from Pip's antics as anyone, yet that night he turned away and went instead to the end of the bench, where Samwell Tarly sat alone, as far from the others as he could get. So, that one's another strange decision made.
Right. You need a little counter.
Yeah. 3 men-at-arms had escorted him into a wood near Horn Hill, where his father was skinning a deer. "You're almost a man grown now, and my heir." Lord Randall Tarly had told his eldest son, his long knife laying bare the carcass as he spoke. So the show gave this whole energy to Tywin. This whole skinning the deer, right? And it's meant to symbolize the idea that the Lannisters are killing the Baratheons, right?
Right.
But here, this is all Randall Tarly and Sam.
Yeah.
His arms were red to the elbow as he laid the skinning knife aside. "So there is your choice. The Night's Watch." He reached inside the deer, ripped out its heart, and held it in his fist, red and dripping. "Or this." Sam told the tale in a calm, dead voice, as if it were something that had happened to someone else, not to him. And strangely, Jon thought, he did not weep, not even once. So there's definitely
that's a
lot of strange behavior, both by the POV and by the people around him.
Yeah.
Pip backed him as he'd known he would, but when Halder spoke up, it was a pleasant surprise. So, as we've mentioned, given how much potential intervention there is, it's definitely possible that Halder is speaking up because Brandon's decided that Halder needs to speak up here.
Yeah.
Fat and awkward and frightened he might be, but Samwell Tarly was no fool. One night he visited Jon in his cell. "I don't know what you did," he said, "but I know you did it." He looked away shyly. "I've never had a friend before." "We're not friends," Jon said. He put a hand on Sam's broad shoulder. "We're brothers." And so they were, he thought to himself after Sam had taken his leave. Robb and Bran and Rickon were his father's sons, and he loved them still. Yet Jon knew that he had never truly been one of them. Catelyn Stark had seen to that. The gray walls of Winterfell might still haunt his dreams, but Castle Black was his life now. And his brothers were Sam and Gren and Halder and Pip and the other castouts who wore the black of the Night's Watch. "My uncle spoke truly," he whispered to Ghost. He wondered if he would ever see Benjen Stark again to tell him. And so do we.
Yeah.
So one thing that I skipped here was Rast, right?
Yeah.
So Rast is like not going to go along with it, and they give a nice little Godfather moment.
Yeah. In the military, that would be called a blanket party, sort of.
So, yeah. It's they made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Exactly.
And you do get some of the red smile symbolism there, right? The slit throat kind of symbolism with the red smile of the Weirwoods.
Yeah.
I went through this pretty quickly, but mostly this sure seems like this is Sam and this is Jon and Sam needing to be friends for some reason.
Right.
And I think we're going to get more of that too, right? I think we're going to find that there's more of Jon like thinking about strangely finding himself. Maybe I'm not sure. We'll have to look for that, but I imagine there's probably some more of this as we go to the moment when he convinces Maester Haemon and therefore the Lord Commander to let Sam graduate, essentially.
Right. There's one thing in here, and it's when Jon's talking about his dream and the running through the castles and everything, calling people's name, nobody's there.
Oh yeah, I skipped it. I skipped it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to skip that part. I'd highlighted that in my book and I forgot to paste it in my notes.
Not a problem. I was there to catch you.
Yeah.
It's rare that I catch you.
No. I definitely meant to read that. I mean, that's a key. That's a key to John, right? Is let me pull up
Right.
Kindle.
Well, I mean, when he's running through, hollering names, all that stuff, then he gets to the top of the crypts, and he knows that he can see the spiraling stairs. It says, "Somehow I know I have to go down there, but I don't want to." And then it skips a little bit, and then I scream that I'm not a Stark, that
But
this
it's no good.
isn't my place, but it's no good. I have to go anyways. He's screaming, "Hey, I'm not a Stark. I'm not a Stark." But the castle's saying, "Come on in. Yes, you are."
Yep. All right, let me jump forward to this. What chapter is this? Okay. Let me pull this up. I'll go ahead and read the whole thing. It's worth reading. I knew those notes were too short. I knew I was just
look, we're sitting at 10 minutes, and I'm like, no, this can't be right.
No, this is the dream. The dream is like you said, it's
a big part of the chapter.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Shoot.
I thought I was having an off day.
Yeah. Sometimes I dream about it, he said. I'm walking down this long, empty hall. My voice echoes all around, but no one answers. So I walk faster, opening doors, shouting names. I don't even know who I'm looking for. Most nights it's my father, but sometimes it's Rob instead, or my little sister Arya, or my uncle. The thought of Benton Stark saddened him. His uncle was still missing. The old bear had sent out rangers in search of him. Sir Jaime Riker had led 2 sweeps, and Corin Halfhand had gone forth from the Shadow Tower, but they found nothing aside from a few blazes in the trees that his uncle had left to mark his way. In the stony highlands to the northwest, the marks stopped abruptly, and all trace of Ben Stark vanished. Do you ever find anyone in your dreams? Sam asked. John shook his head. No one. The castle is always empty. He never told anyone of the dream, and he did not. Sorry, I've got to move things over here. I didn't size this properly. Actually, maybe I can. Let's see if I can resize this properly here, so I don't have to keep moving back and forth. Where were we here? When I resized it, it kind of went away. Okay, here we go. Castle's always empty. Never told anyone of the dream. I understand why I was telling Sam now, yet somehow it felt good to talk of it. Even the ravens are gone from the rookery, and the stables are full of bones. That always scares me. I start to run then, throwing open doors, climbing the tower 3 steps at a time, screaming for someone, for anyone, and then I find myself in front of the door to the crypts. It's black inside, and I can see the steps spiraling down. Somehow I know I have to go down there, but I don't want to. I'm afraid of what might be waiting for me. The old kings of winter are down there, sitting on their thrones with stone wolves at their feet and iron swords across their laps. But it's not them I'm afraid of. I scream that I'm not a Stark, that this isn't my place, but it's no good. I have to go anyway. And at that point, I in my video, I go, you know nothing, Jon Stark. So I start down, feeling the walls as I descend, with no torch to light the way. It gets darker and darker until I want to scream. He stopped, frowning, embarrassed. That's when I always wake. His skin cold and clammy, shivering in the darkness of his cell. Ghost would leap up beside him, his warmth as comforting as daybreak. He would go back to sleep with his face pressed into the direwolf's shaggy white fur. Yeah. And then I'm trying to see if I highlighted anything else that I missed.
There's one thing, going back to, do you ever find anyone in your dream? Sam asked. John shook his head. No one.
Yeah.
Faceless men. No one.
Yeah. Or Arya.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Arya.
Yeah. And there's and it's true that John does say that I said that he doesn't, that it's the young wolf that says he's the young dragon. Mm-hmm. John does say that he's the Dragon Knight, but the Dragon Knight is the historic parallel for Jaime, and Jaime is sort of the last hero of of Robert's Rebellion.
Right.
So I actually think that might be more about Jon being in the role of. So Jon is sort of known as the bastard Winterfell, even if he's not really a bastard.
Right.
And it seems like Jaime is sort of that the bastard who is the last hero of Robert's Rebellion. So those who aren't familiar with that theory, my video on that is episode 5 of Triplet Targaryens, and there's Gray has great videos on the twins, and Bridge 4 also has a video on that.
Yeah. Pretty short chapter.
Yeah. I mean, it's important thing is Sam is here, and things oddly happen to arrange for Sam and Jon to be friends.
Yeah. For show only people, Sam is worse in the books than he was portrayed in the show. The actor did an awesome job. It's great casting and everything, but it just seems like he wasn't down on himself enough as far as what the book says. I mean, Sam in the book is a whole lot less what's the word?
There is a part I highlighted. There's a part I highlighted that we missed. And you actually mentioned it already, I think. Like the snowfall on the Barrowlands, it seemed the tears would never end. It was Ghost who knew what to do. Silent as shadow, the pale direwolf moved closer and began to lick the warm tears off Samwell Tarly's face. The fat boy cried out, startled, and somehow, in a heartbeat, his sobs turned to laughter.
See, there's another switch right there from strings, from crying to laughter.
Yep.
That and somehow just tells me that along with just about everything else in this chapter, you got Jon going, oh man, will this guy ever stop? And then Ghost going up there and kind of breaking the ice. Yeah. And then somehow, in a heartbeat, his sobs turn to laughter. I think that turns to laughter somehow is more of your future brand or string. Yep.
And it's also interesting symbol of them too, like Snowfall and the Barrowlands. But the Barrowlands are basically graves, and so it's talking about how it seems to go on. It seemed the tears would never end. So that could be some long night symbolism. It's kind of associating death and continual snowfall and so forth. And then so Jon Snow laughed with him after they sat in the frozen ground, huddled in their cloaks with Ghost between them. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
but all of it, like we said, it's all about seemingly manipulated things with Ghost and people making out of character decisions with exercising free will in unusual ways that really seem to fit with the whole quantum leap concept that Bran as the old gods is altering the past.
Right.
And one of the things about Bran altering the past that way is that it fits right in with one of the quotes that David Lightbringer is always highlighting. Oh, no, don't bring back Ned. You can't do that anyway, and don't even try, right? Well, the way he would do that is he would change events in ways that would keep Ned from dying, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you stop Ned from dying, isn't it well, I mean, Ned has to be accused of being a traitor. So Jon would go after Sir Alistair, and he would be put in his cell. And because like right before that, he had made the comment that Sir Alistair made sure he got the night watches on top of the wall. So if he hadn't gotten in trouble by going after Sir Alistair,
he wouldn't be there.
He would have been on the wall guarding up there instead of down where he could save Mormont.
Right. And that's where he proves himself worthy of a magic sword of the female equality house of the North, right? Yeah. That's very and by the way, it's a pale stone sword.
Yes.
It's and the Palestone Sword is the name of the tower in Starfall,
Right.
right? And so it's very much the whole concept of him being awarded the sword as the one worthy is very much tying him to Ashara Dane and her supposed suicide, and Dawn and the Danes.
Yeah.
So it's
Did you catch what I had on there yesterday on Twitter about the Oaks?
yeah, I think so. Didn't I? I thought I made another comment. Yeah, it was
You made
about
another
the
comment,
weirwood.
and then
Yeah, you were commenting on mine, in fact, and I commented
right.
on that.
Yeah, and then I think I had another one after that, which it was Amy Blackfire.
Yeah, Amy started engaging with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And my question is because their theory about the corruption and the breaking of the waters is freaking awesome. But I had a couple questions like, well, the place we see water magic is on the Renor, whatever it's called, water wizards that were fighting the
Ronar?
They're on Ronar, and they were the water benders, water wizards that were going after the dragons, and they lost. But that's where you see water magic at, is over there. But the thing was, if the Shade of the Evening Tree is a corruption of just a standard oak, could the Weirwoods be a corruption, the opposite corruption of the same oak? Because you had them in Essos.
Yeah, and she kind of agreed that it's possible, right? She seemed to think Weirwoods might be corrupted oaks.
Right. Because
I actually think that's symbolism intended to refer to the marriage of Ashara Dane and Ashra. But just because it's symbolism doesn't mean it's also not literal, right? He does that a lot, where he does things that are symbolic, and then he'll turn around and do the same thing literally, right? So it doesn't rule it out by any stretch.
But she was blaming the Blackstone, the Bloodstone from the Bloodstone Emperor for the corruption that caused the Shade of the Evening Trees. And I'm like, well, there's two different colors rocks that we know fall from the sky, and you have the one at Starfall that Dawn's made out of, which is a white rock, glowing. And you got the dark rock from the Bloodstone Emperor. Well, if they're both corruptions, could the reason that, and I had to point out that George R. R. Martin is a big fan of the Black Knight, Dane Whitman. If the white stone is a corruption and that's what's caused the Weirwood trees, corrupted oaks and everything, is the reason that the Sword of the Morning has to be the truest of true of knights? Is it to resist the corruption from the sword? Very much like in The Hobbit with the ring and Frodo. Or
Elric of Melniboné is sort of a lot of the concept of Stormbringer and Elric.
Yeah. I typed it better than I just said it, so.
No, that's all right. That's pretty good. One of the things you just mentioned the Roinar, so I think I should mention that we're told that men are made of water, and you poke them and the water flows out, right? Well, water magic seems to be healing magic, and you get this from a couple of different places. One is the Orphans of the Green Blood seem to be the world's best healers, and another person we see who's definitely the world's best healer is the Elder Brother, right?
Yeah,
and he's definitely associated with the river and death and rebirth, and and I think there's a lot of reasons to think that his he's got the square jaw mastiff look that Quentin and Maester Marwyn have, and arguably we're actually told a couple times that Quentin's father Doran looks just like Quentin. He looks like you. We're still told he looks like you. So that implies that Doran also has that square jaw, and the Elder Brother has that square jaw. He's tall, which the other ones aren't. But that's not that unusual for a family to have one taller person, and for that taller person to have been a knight. And there's all these hints. There's a whole lot of hints that his story doesn't really add up. It really doesn't. There's no way that all those brothers he has to. You never say, my brother's every one if you have two. Like, I have two brothers. I'm never going to refer to them as my brother's every one, right? And in fact, the term everyone is specifically used to refer to Prince Lewin Martell's brothers in the story. So good men, everyone, right? Dead men, everyone. Are they? Like, there's strong hints that Loris is wrong there.
Yeah. I know I got us off topic.
Yeah. No, I guess you talked about the Rhoynar and water magic, and I just had to say I think water magic is implied to be human magic and healing.
Right. And there was something. Is it Austin Flowers today or yesterday talking about the grayscale, the water turning to stone, or water turning to land turning to stone, talking about
about the reeds. I did see that.
And they talked about the what is the shrouded lord started out as a stone and was brought to life by lips as cold as ice by a kiss. And I'm like, okay, well,
yeah, he's talking about how all the religions tie together, right? They're all about death and rebirth. They're all about they all have this. If you go back, they all have this concept of turning to stone, and you know, there's certainly hints that the Ironborn might be a reference to the concept of, or the Iron Man might be a reference to the concept of either armor or like stone skin or both. You know?
Right.
It's like,
well, I mean, my question was because weirwood trees that live a really long time and shaded evening trees that live for a really long time, they turn to stone. Well, weirwood, as we know, and shaded evening trees, we're assuming if the kiss as cold as ice, with lips as cold as ice, could turn a stone weirwood tree back into a living weirwood tree. I know I'm going way out in the weeds and this stuff, but could the blue lips of a wizard, certain wizard, bring a shaded evening tree back out of the oily rock?
Yeah, who knows? You know, I do think some of that symbolism is there because of the concept of Naga's ribs, right? So the idea that you have a weirwood turned to stone as a boat that's been turned upside down, and Asherah was originally associated with the sea dragon, but became the tree of life. And so with Naga's ribs, you've got something that was officially the sea dragon, even if it was actually a boat, that's now been turned into a weirwood trees, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. So I did my best to get us at 30 minutes, man.
Yeah, I know, it's a fun discussion. So
yeah, well, it's a short topic, so I like getting the extra in there.
little off topic, but it's fun to talk about these things.
Oh yeah, I can't get on Twitter very much because I'm one of those that gets addicted real quick to just about anything, and I'd be just constantly looking at the phone waiting for somebody to say something. Not gonna get anything done, nothing.
Yeah, I've gotta limit yourself a little bit at least.
Yeah, I'll say something and I'll go off and do something else, and then it'll be an hour or 2 hours before I go back and look. Because if I'm not careful, because I had to stay off for, I think it was a couple of months off of Twitter just to try to break that habit. So I'm very careful on when I get back on Twitter. But the conversations the last couple of days, I've been loving them.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Oh yeah. All right, that's 30 minutes, man. What's the next?
Let's do it. Sign off.
Yeah, well, hopefully have a good weekend. And what is next?
We're back to Eddard.
Oh,
right back.
That quick?
Yeah, right back.
I'm telling you, that'll be a good one. All right, that will be Monday, and y'all have a good weekend. I have been Old New Dude, and he has been
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
Y'all have a good one. Thank you. Thanks, Richard.
Bye.
Bye.